Some 40 years ago, I worked with a young woman who was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. She was only given a few months to live. And in her desperation, she went to a revival meeting. She later said that it felt like a bolt of electricity had shot into her head when the pastor touched her. A later brain scan showed that the walnut-sized tumor had all but disappeared. The doctors had absolutely no explanation, and she lived on for another 25 years. Most of us have faced a desperate situation. It may be our own health, or that awful feeling when you lost track of a child in the store, or when a loved one failed to show up when they were expected. Immediately, we fear the worst. And that is the kind of desperation that we hear in our gospel lesson this morning. Two quite different individuals, but each equally desperate. First, Jairus, whose name means enlightened of God. He was a person of status in the synagogue. I imagine him as a competent, proud individual, but his child, his little daughter, was dying, and Darius was desperate. Then we have an unknown woman. We don't know her name, and by contrast, she is a total social outcast. Her illness made her unclean. I picture her as lonely, isolated, without any self-confidence. She was the exact opposite of Jairus. We don't know the reason for her illness, but she was likewise desperate. So we have two vastly different people, a man and a woman, one with a name, one unknown, one with social status, one a social outcast. But both are united in their desperation, and they are united in something else. The faith in an itinerant Jewish preacher. The news about Jesus' miracles was spreading fast, and large crowd had gathered. Mark tells us that Jairus falls at Jesus' feet, begging him to come and save his dying daughter. This had to have been a courageous move on his part, because the Sadducees and Pharisees were spying on Jesus, and Jairus' actions were certain to get back to them. And it must have taken a supreme amount of courage on his part to even approach Jesus. On the other hand, it's not difficult to imagine the unknown woman being so scared that she dared not even approach Jesus. For 12 years, she'd tried everything. But she had faith that if she could only sneak up and touch the hem of Jesus' garment, that she would be healed. And she dared to do so and was healed. When Jairus begs Jesus to save his daughter, Jesus could no doubt have snapped his fingers and told him, "Return home, your daughter is healed." Instead, they go to the child. We don't know whether the child was sleeping or dead, but it really doesn't matter. What does matter is that Jesus restored her to full life. And I love the little details. that Jesus took the parents into the girl's room, took the child by the hand, and told her to get up. It's that personal divine response to the little girl and her parents. We see that same personal response to the unknown woman. Instead of simply walking off, Jesus stops. He is concerned for this woman. He actually looks for her. For years, she had been a nobody. But today, Jesus calls her daughter. He not only heals her body, but he gives her value and affirms her as a person. Well, that was then, but is it any different today? Our world may have changed, but people are still much the same. We all occasionally find ourselves in desperate situations. They affect both men and women, rich and poor, adults and children, celebrities and the unknown. Often, we only turn to faith as a last resort. We try so hard to solve desperate situations by ourselves, and often it's only when everything else fails that we call upon God. But we need to be daring. We need to expect great things, and our faith should be our first choice. Miracles still occur every minute of every day. We may not recognize them, but they are there. And God's divine response can help us to deal with whatever arises in our lives. In closing, I want to tell you a short story. There had been months of drought. Crops for which the villagers depended upon for food were dying in the fields. The villagers decided to gather in the village square and pray for rain. The villages gathered, and as they began to pray, one young child opened an umbrella. And that, my friends, is faith. Amen.